Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead, and we have agricultural meteorologist Greg Soulje back with us today here on this Tuesday. Welcome, Greg.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Nice to be with you here on a still pretty active weather pattern over the nation's heartland. Been chasing around showers, thunderstorms, too much of one thing, not enough of another, and a little more heat short term involved for parts of the Corn Belt going forward. So we'll talk about that and another pattern shift around here, driven not exclusively by, but generally dominated by this kind of strengthening El Nino weather pattern across the hemisphere.
Well, we had a bunch of rain last week on the last day of the World Pork Expo. That last evening kind of rained out the festivities there, but I know it kind of followed me back here to Illinois, I think, because we're getting some rain. I'm kind of ready for that spigot to be turned off, Greg. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we got a little more ways and work to go on some of the dryness-related issues in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, but everyone downstate, back to Iowa, east through Ohio, and just about any direction except for here in our part of the Midwest has had way too much of a good thing. But we'll talk about what's coming up here in the days to come.
Very good. Well, I know you have some slides, so let's put those up for you, Greg, and let you take it away.
All right, we'll do just that. And the weather maps and charts and headline points here on this Tuesday, the 9th of June include this. Well, across the Corn Belt, more showery weather. We still have some degree of late season corn and soybean planting to complete. About 90% of the intended acreage has been done, sown as of the 7th of June. Ohio may be the laggard coming off some of the early season rainfall there, especially into the Ohio Valley. Otherwise, 2/3 of the corn crop and both corn and soybeans are generally rated good to excellent. So despite some anomalies, dryness issues in southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, parts of east central Illinois, parts of the western Corn Belt as a whole, we're doing relatively well. If you just missed some of the severe weather end of things and where there's been too much of a good thing going forward over the past few days, actually that's been into parts of central and east central Illinois just as a small snippet. In any event, there's hot weather in all but big sky country. The leading edge is some cooler air on the move there with 90 to 95 to maybe 100-degree heat as far north and east as almost Memphis into the at least the Arklatex for this afternoon. Those heat index values are going to push 105, 110, so kind of space them out, water them down, as they say in the livestock side. On the southeastern plains of lower Mississippi Valley, 44% of the winter wheat crop has been harvested across Oklahoma, hearing 30 to 35% bushel coming out of Kansas, and over a fair amount of some of these harvested plain states areas with regard to winter wheat. So not so great. And all of a sudden, of course, the past week to 10 days to 2 weeks, it's been raining in central and eastern Nebraska, as well as parts of Kansas, central and eastern areas. Another 1 to 3, some spots as much as 5 inches of rain, complete with hail and high wind. That was the story with 60-mile-an-hour winds out of parts of southeastern and eastern Kansas, for example. That storm cluster is weakening as it makes its way into Missouri. So haves versus have-nots, the have-nots being the western plains, and of course back into the desert southwest where some of the heat will backbuild here in the coming days. Showers have been welcomed in the drought areas of the Carolinas. A long way to go to improve moisture there. Matter of fact, we've taken a couple of steps backwards over the past 10 days to 2 weeks with the lack of any organized rainfall. So some added stress on pasture land, some of the summer crops across the mid-Atlantic region, down across Georgia coming off last week, or at least the most recent rainfall. Again, that's about a week to 10 days to 2 weeks ago across the southeastern part of the country. More than half of the pastures are rated poor and very poor in North Carolina and Virginia. So an ongoing situation there. And usually in an El Nino setup, you don't get a busy tropical or remnant season, tropical wise, into the Carolinas, the southeast part of the country. So this could be something we have to keep an eye out for. Although the medium and longer range are still pointing towards cooler on the move, that'll buckle the jet stream across the southern plains, lifted across the Appalachians. So maybe some unusually wet weather may be ahead over that part of the country going forward, probably about 10 days, 2 weeks, maybe almost 2.5 weeks out. Anyway, over the west and southwestern part of the country, below normal temperatures over the Rockies versus heat across the Four Corners area. And with that, increasing fire concerns and gusty winds across the southwestern part of the country. We'll take a look at that fire outlook in just a second. Bits and pieces of weather systems on the visible satellite picture across the Corn Belt, the plains, and across the western states. You can see see little swirls and curls to some of these systems as we pick up pockets of energy and winds up aloft. And the main steering currents up aloft here are the trough of the Pacific Northwest, leading to some shower activity across the northern and central Rockies, and a very diffuse looking benign ho-hum upper air pattern over the plains, Corn Belt, and Great Lakes region. And sometimes it's those smaller scale features that drive the showers and thunderstorms. And those showers and thunderstorms, while small in scale, they tend to drive the bigger weather pictures sometimes across the plains and Corn Belt areas. Surface map is basically pretty uneventful as well. A couple of weak circulations making its way through the Corn Belt back into the eastern plains, the more significant weather system with that attendant cool air moving into the northern and central Rockies. There's a little more of a Midwestern look to the visible satellite picture, and we plotted some of the rainfall events that are way down through Kentucky, parts of Indiana, sections of Illinois, back into the plains, plenty of low clouds and fog and drizzle this morning in some of that cool air wraparound effect across the Great Lakes region. And on the surface map here, again, no real strong weather systems for now. A little bit of a boundary across Missouri and into parts of the southern Great Lakes region. Another one through the mid-Atlantic region. Another one across the northern and central Rockies. So as usual for the time of year, nothing too impressive. That may change with the strength of some of the cold fronts coming down the line here in the next 10 days to 2 weeks. Anyway, this afternoon, scattered showers, thunderstorms across the eastern Corn Belt. Best coverages through Michigan, Ohio Valley. Welcome rains across some of the pasture lands of Kentucky and Tennessee, as well as into the mid-Atlantic region. A couple of scattered storms, more lightning-based than anything through the southern high plains of New Mexico and West Texas. A little more organization to some of the rainfall across Big Sky Country. Note the blob of red this afternoon and evening time, and enhanced risk. That's category 3 out of 5. So it's going to happen, and usually it's hail and high wind that happens this time of the year across the Dakotas, southern Canadian prairie, as far south as Nebraska. A couple of stronger storms than the northeastern parts of New Mexico. But heads up on what will be a slew of weather watches and warnings coming out of the northern plains and upper Midwest this afternoon and evening time. And you can see the scattered showers and thunderstorms kind of winding down and abating. We're going to move into about a 36-hour spell of drier weather on some of the hard-hit areas of Missouri and Illinois and eastern Iowa from the recent rainfall, of which by tomorrow morning, severe weather, but of all places up across the Arrowhead of Minnesota, the big fishing areas of northwestern Wisconsin. Some organized rains continue their push into the lower lakes region and upper Ohio Valley. And tomorrow afternoon, here we go, with showers, thunderstorms, but that will temper the heat, which will send readings, by the way, into the low to mid-90s as far north as northern Illinois. We'll take a look at those temperatures just a minute. Severe weather gets going in northwestern Wisconsin, Arrowhead of Minnesota tomorrow afternoon at evening time. And by Thursday morning, things wind down, but another good coverage blob of rain by the inch or more into Iowa and redeveloping across the Dakotas. That's the first in a series of pretty snappy, strong cold fronts for almost mid-June that will make their presence felt going forward again over the next 10 days to 2 weeks. There's the severe weather this afternoon. You can see the scale to the bottom right. That's 3 out of 5. So we mean business when that gets plotted across the Dakotas, parts of the Oklahoma Panhandle, more garden variety, if you will. Showers, thunderstorms, eastern Corn Belt. But by tomorrow, they get going in earnest. Upper Mississippi Valley, Great Lakes areas, mid-Mississippi Valley. And by the time we get to Thursday, we're sitting right smack dab of it here in Sarah and my world through parts of the central Corn Belt areas of the southern Great Lakes region. So plenty of busyness going on. Not only the rainfall prospects and what will be a pretty saturated atmosphere, but heightened severe weather as well going forward. There is the fire outlook for the next couple of days, mainly through the four corners, Arizona, Utah, etc., so forth and so on. The next 48 hours brings this kind of rainfall into northwest and northern Illinois, eastern and southern Iowa, northern Missouri, another probably an inch, 3/4 to maybe a bucket a quarter worth of rain. Southern Canadian prairie gets it as well, and some welcome rain again through the Ohio Valley, more so through Kentucky and Tennessee. That's another dry, drought-ridden area. High temperatures this afternoon into the mid and upper 90s over parts of the plains, upper, at least low to mid 90s over some of the southern sections of the Corn Belt and lower Mississippi Valley areas. And we'll put humidity into the picture as well. But by the time we get to Thursday, look at the cool air, the cool off in temperatures in the upper 60s and 70s across the Dakotas. Another push at some 90-degree air plus into the southern Great Lakes region, parts of the eastern and southern Corn Belt back into the southern plains. You can see heat building across the west as we kind of retrograde the heat westward. By the time we get to Saturday, pretty seasonal temperatures, upper 70s and 80s, covering much of the plains and Corn Belt. Another wedge of cooler air, though, across the Dakotas, that will be on the move. And by Monday, markedly cooler, drier air. Daytime readings may be hard pressed to get past 80 over parts of the Midwest, with upper 60s and 70s up north and back west onto the plain states as the heat builds into the Pacific Northwest, the valleys of California, and points on southward. Next 5 to 7 days on the upper charts, pretty much uneventful. West to east, you can see a significant low for the time of year through the Canadian Prairie. And then we get into that U-shaped configuration, that buckling and bending of the upper level winds that drives weather systems and air masses into our part of the country. You can see it getting going Sunday across the west. By the time we get to Monday, into the northern and central plains, and by Tuesday, Wednesday, that's a pretty snappy trough for the June calendar date to make its way through the plains and Corn Belt areas. It will ultimately spin back more moisture, and again, slowing up of growth and development, easing of moisture requirements, but we're going to get the moisture. So the bottom line is cooler and wetter going forward here into the early and middle parts of next week. And other than the usual mishmash of showers and thunderstorms, the main emphasis on that Monday and Tuesday chart is the first in a couple of more cool fronts on the move, but they will tend to stall and slow out over the plains and Corn Belt areas. Jet stream winds will blow along them in from the south and southwest as that trough gets going out to the west. And so we've got rain in the forecast, no shortage of it as well. And just a slew of weather headlines and hazards going forward, whether it's severe weather across the Great Lakes into the heart of the Corn Belt, heavy rainfall there on southward into the southeastern plains, heat and humidity, but tempered by an increase in showers and thunderstorms over the southeastern plains and lower Mississippi Valley and across the western states. It will be the pickup on heat. So easily going forward, if you just want to do the simple math on this over the next 3 to 5 to 7 days, most everyone across the eastern plains, the Corn Belt into the Appalachians will come up with about 1 to 3 and probably some spots as much as 2 to 4 inches of rain. Severe weather will headline some of that rainfall as well. So while there's not a lot of tall stands, maybe V4, V5 in the layered stuff, keep an eye on hail. So hopefully not much in the way of any lodging or blowdown because of that, but keep an eye on the power grid going forward with the showers and thunderstorms. Some high plains shower activity, some of the mid-Atlantic region, but otherwise temperatures pushing 105 into the high plains areas, southern high plains areas, and then 100 degree in the mid-Atlantic region. And that will be accompanied by high humidity and dew points. So a much at least tougher feel if you can put those two equations together and come up with heat index values. The next 7 days, yeah, everybody's going to get some rain, including where we need it, maybe some spots where we don't need it, and probably too late to matter on the winter wheat side of things, but pasture lands and rangelands will certainly appreciate that, and forages as well, and some rainfall too. Really anywhere from the divide on east, there's significant rain in the forecast. The next 6 to 10 days, the government fed stuff makes pretty much sense with a trough in the middle part of the country, ridging over the western part of the country. So you get this a little overdone, a little exuberant, and maybe a little advanced to the east and south, but the right idea. Temperatures probably will run some 4 to 8, maybe 5, almost 10 degrees below average for daytime highs going forward as we head through the mid stretch of the month of June. The moisture pattern looks to be correct over and through the lower Mississippi Valley, Cotton Belt country, the southeastern states. Some welcome rain hopefully helps out in some of the soybean fields and summer crops, maybe even cotton as well, while western states will be high and dry. And generally over the next 6 to 10 days, a little flat looking trough over the middle part of the country. That's more like the right idea. The 6 to 10 day may be a little bit too exuberant, but a cool off slated for much of the northern and central plains and Corn Belt areas with the heat across the western part of the country. More rain in the forecast as well, maybe a little bit too far to the north and west, but the right idea, southwestern part of the country, southeastern plains, at least to the Ohio Valley and lower lakes region with more normalized moisture into the upper Midwest. By the way, we didn't touch on the drought monitor. Here it is from last week, and still showing at least a diminishment of the abnormally dry, moderate drought condition, which would by late this week's drought monitor should show more substantial improvement. That was a snapshot as of last week into southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, as far south as the east central Illinois area. This was taken, the data for this before the rains of late last week. So there should be a substantial look of improvement over the middle part of the country. And that was the easing of dryness and drought over Florida and southeastern states as of late last week, which again should show marked improvement. We'll update the summer outlook, talk about El Nino and the tropics on our get together on Tuesday, June 23rd on our half-hour live stream. So that is a check on weather here, Sarah. So a couple of days of heat and humidity. should be tempered by some pretty good coverage showers and thunderstorms. But this setup is going to be a classic severe weather setup. So some of the rainfall totals and rainfall where we still need it may come at a price, I think, because of the degree of severe weather coming out of the plains into the Corn Belt, the Great Lakes areas over the next 2 or 3 days.
Still great to see some drought relief, though. That's always nice to see. We'll be interested to watch those maps and how that red gets probably a little less the next time we look at those.
Exactly. Not only in the southeast, but some improvement around here. So we should hit at least mid to late June in very good order, cool off, but very good order in getting some significant drought relief and dryness relief over the middle part of the country.
Very good. We'll check back with Greg on this Friday to get an update. Appreciate it, Greg. Thank you for joining us. And
always a pleasure, Sarah. Thank you.
We appreciate all of you tuning in as well.